We have a strange or digital pics of people. These emotional connection was while the sketches ball, making a video synchronized sound with the We have a strange habit as a species. We can look at a scattering of pigment, lines of ink, or digital pixels and feel a sudden, intense surge of empathy. For millions of people, these arrangements of shapes are childhood friends, trusted companions, and the architects of our earliest memories. But in the early 1900s, this emotional connection was entirely absent. The first silent animated shorts and paper flipbooks operated as technical magic tricks. Audiences marveled at the fact that a drawing could walk or jump across a screen, but the novelty wore off quickly. While the sketches possessed motion, they were empty vessels. Animators realized they had hit a wall. Making a drawing move was an engineering problem they had already solved. The real hurdle, the one that would define the next century of the medium, was figuring out how to make an audience actually care about a pile of ink. The solution arrived in the 1920s, when studios synchronized sound with the moving image.
Characters finally had voices of their own. A voice track provided a direct pipeline into a character's mind. Animators could now map distinct comedic timing, nervous stutters, and irrational fears directly onto their creations. By grafting everyday human anxieties onto animals and exaggerated figures, studios created something new. Viewers saw their own clumsiness, greed, or stubbornness reflected on screen, and these visual experiments became recognizable peers. During the economic crashes and global conflicts of the mid-20th century, people flocked to theaters seeking relief. These characters offered a reliable source of communal escape. Synchronized sound proved a simple psychological truth. Shared laughter built immediate trust. Giving these drawings a voice was the moment animation learned how to manufacture empathy. In the 1950s, the medium packed its bags and migrated out of massive public cinemas straight into the intimacy of the private living room. The television set sat mere feet away from the audience. This physical proximity stripped away the grandeur of the movie theater and replaced it with intense domestic intimacy. Studios quickly adapted, churning out serialized stories and embedding them into daily routines. Watching cartoons became a dedicated Saturday morning ritual, turning previously distant characters into reliable fixtures of the household. To keep up with demand, production quality dropped and animation became cheaper. But the trade-off was volume. Children were now spending dozens of hours a month with these specific voices and personalities. The visual artistry may have taken a step back, but the psychological impact deepened. Constant repetition converted episodic entertainment into a permanent emotional attachment, anchored by the sheer volume of time spent together. As computers entered the studio, the flat planes of hand-drawn animation expanded into three-dimensional space. Characters could now cast shadows and breathe. They could emote with the subtle micro-expressions of real actors. This structural realism forced a parallel leap in the writing, shattering the long-held assumption that the medium was exclusively for children. Writers began using this new realism to tackle heavy, universal concepts. Animation started asking difficult questions about who we are and how we cope with grief. Instead of static comedic archetypes, modern protagonists are built as layered individuals who process trauma, adapt to failures, and display genuine personal growth over time. Today, streaming platforms bypass the barriers of physical distribution, allowing a single, highly serialized emotional arc to reach millions of screens globally on the day it premieres. Digital rendering expanded the medium's emotional bandwidth, providing the tools needed to reflect the full, complicated spectrum of the human experience. Strip away the rendering farms and the streaming algorithms, and the underlying mechanism, the mirror effect, operates exactly as it did a century ago. The real world is overflowing with messy, contradictory emotions. Animators observe that chaos, extract the core feelings, and package them into clear, digestible archetypes. We rely on these simplified reflections. They model baseline values like courage and empathy for children. And later in life, they serve as a safe, predictable harbor when reality becomes overwhelming. The evolution of animation
records the refinement of human self-reflection, a century-long project to build mirrors that show us at our funniest, show us at our bravest, and at our most vulnerable. As long as we have the capacity to dream, we will keep breathing life into ink and pixels, because somewhere deep down, the child who first looked up at that screen and found a friend is still watching.